It is.
Every
I
week
never
is
learn.
like,
I
no.
never learn my lesson.
Every week is like, Jared, these are how microphones work. Allow me.
Jared, here's the fundamentals.
Here's how you make a microphone
Water.
go. Are you ready?
Is this better?
Enunciate.
Yeah. Yes, but do you see how it's pointed straight at your mouth now, as opposed to angled?
Put it next to you. Okay. Blow straight out of your mouth.
You guys are making me do so many weird things.
Like you're
wearing shorts, blow out my mouth. Gosh.
When there's
Wearing
things
shorts on
and there's
IMAX.
things we're making sure that you're not doing too. Have you ever made a tone with a beer bottle or a glass bottle?
Yeah. Over.
It's got to be.
You want to do that?
It's got to be in a certain place, but you don't want to blow into it. You don't want that. Whatever that was.
This is what the internet comes here for.
Yes.
Right? They're like, yeah, we want to watch Jared blow into a microphone.
Your dollars at work. Your hard-earned dollars at work.
Do you see how the microphone is still pointed straight at your mouth?
Move it to the left of your cheek. Move it to the left of your mouth and rotate the head so that it points to your mouth.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So you're not blowing into it.
You're talking across
next
it. Yeah, you're talking next to it. Otherwise, you're going to get something called plosives. It's the noise.
Oh, I'm a hard popper peas on the things.
No, don't do that. That's bad.
Sorry.
Not only is it bad on the air, it's like people don't like to hear it, but then it's actually physically bad on the microphone. Like you can damage the microphone element by doing that.
Oh, it wouldn't be the first microphone I've destroyed.
It would be the most expensive one you would destroy.
Possibly.
About $1,200?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably a couple $100.
Yeah, exactly. They're like microphone. Everyone's like,
How about this? How about this?
You know, that
Is
will
this better?
That is not how I'm doing it, but that will technically work because it's at your mouth and it's angled away so that the
Does it have the logo?
Yeah, we need to brand
available
Blue
for
microphones. And by the way, for the record, it was between these microphones. There were 3 of them that I liked. There was this one, the Shure KSM 44. I like that because it's a large diaphragm microphone and it pulls out some really nice low ends. And we had those for years, actually.
Which is not what you need.
No, I need to. I mean, that's what my voice does, but it's not what I want it to sound like. So, there's that. And then the last one was the, what is it, the Shure RE66s or whatever those are, the standard ones that you use everywhere. The thing is that the standard ones, it's like what you see on Joe Rogan or everywhere else. And they're nice. The only problem is they sound like everywhere else. And they're a very good middle-of-the-road microphone. They are not sweetened, not anything. They sound fine. So I wanted something. Yeah, they do.
How does it sound?
It's fine.
It's fine.
I wanted something just a little bit sweeter, right? Like, this is what I do for a living. I want something that's like, I'm not going to throw, people who don't know how to use a microphone down in front of it, and yet here we are. And so
somebody in the chat room is like, "What does Jared do for a living again?"
Not
this.
Yeah, and so the way I settled on the blue, because the blue and the KSM-44 were very similar. Like the KSM-44 definitely picked up lows better. Jared would have sounded better. Dutta would have sounded remarkable. Like, oh my god, but.
Oh my god!
These are blue bottle rockets, and it had rocket in the title. And so, because rocket was in the title, I bought these microphones.
Oh yeah.
So then, Jared, the other thing that you need to do, and you'll notice that Jamie does this throughout the show, is if your head moves,
I'll move my microphone.
Gotta go with it.
God. Can't give him anything.
So as I'm talking, and moving, I'll move the microphone with me.
Oh my gosh.
The microphone is an extension of your body. You want it to be close, but you don't want to talk directly into it.
Cable goes in the hole.
I'm working on it.
Okay.
I'm still learning that too, to be fair. Sorry.
That's great. I did it to both sides now. Great.
Sorry.
That's remapping. That's
oh my god!
different.
You know what? I should just get him like one of those old school
play school.
Barker.
My first microphone.
My first microphones. The first 10 minutes of this show are Jared trying to figure out a microphone.
I'm just gonna step over here real quick.
Hey, watch my set.
Oh my god. Welcome to the show. My name is Jamie. I'm joined by Jared, who does not know how to use microphones, and Ryan. Ryan, they're actually asking what microphone you have, and that looks like a Shure. Is that a Shure? I think it's a Shure or something.
Negative.
Oh no, it's a USB microphone.
This is a Samsung C01U, C10U,
it's an
something like that.
It's an USB microphone.
Yes.
And we will be your hosts today.
It has a NASA sticker on it as well, which means it's a NASA microphone.
Two of us will sound great. One of us will be, messing with magnets. So he just
trying my best.
he oh my God.
I'm just trying my best, everybody.
I had some interesting conversations on Twitter in the car right over here. I was not texting and driving. Everyone believes me, right? Great.
No, the car was driving.
The car was driving, exactly.
Not as well
it's not
as
texting either, it's tweeting. So.
Sure.
I'm sure a Tesla Model X Plaid will definitely drive a lot better.
I will, and I'm sad that I don't have one yet. Let me see if I can actually call it up. But basically, I'm not on the network? Okay.
Oh, does somebody not know how to make the internet work?
No, actually, it's interesting because some stuff works. Okay.
Yeah.
The general gist of it is what happened to the space community, right? Like, over the last couple of years, it feels like the space community has turned into this, I'm not sure toxic is the right word, but it's a very...
contentious.
Yeah, it's like us versus them sort of thing. And I kind of got to thinking, I'm wondering if this actually started... on our not on Tomorrow, but on our platform, YouTube, right? Because you look at.
You said this was on Twitter.
Yeah. There was a conversation that it was not on the Tomorrow account, on my Photon Empress account.
That's what I'm looking at.
Pam Plack says tribalism, and maybe, but it feels like it's more than that. I'm not sure, and it's. I'm just kind of curious about everyone else's opinion. Like, leave it in the chats. But like you guys, like, I'm wondering if there's been such this push on YouTube as space becomes more commonplace, which was our slogan for years, making space commonplace. But as it becomes more commonplace, it feels like a lot of people who are maybe not as deep into it or maybe don't understand it as much are getting involved, which is good. Like, we don't want to be protectors of space sitting up in our ivory towers saying, oh, you're not allowed access and you're not allowed entry. Like, we want everyone to have access. But the downside of this is that now there's a new community for people to create content for, and that means that they can make money. But the way they make money is by views. And so rather than creating content, there are a few, I'll use Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut. Oh my God. Smokey Dirk says, there's an ivory tower? What's the rent like?
Nice.
I love that. Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, spends a great deal of time doing very deep dives, very long, deep dives into really fascinating content, I think. He does a ton of research and checks it and checks it and checks it and makes sure that it's done right. I think another really great group that I can get behind, NASA Spaceflight.
Yes.
Right? Like, they're out there, they're super excited for Space Launch System, but if you were to ask Chris which is better, Space Launch System or Space Shuttle, I'm pretty sure he would answer Space Shuttle, right? He is not anti-NASA. He's not
correct.
Because he's correct. Or I said not Space Launch. I meant to say Starship. Or Shuttle. Well, because they have a ton of cameras looking at Starship, but I still think, if someone were to ask him which he's more passionate about, I think it would be Shuttle. He's an equal opportunity, like, all of these things are really cool, right? And so you have those types of channels. But then there are these other channels. There are these other channels that are just like, they mix news and commentary into one. And they have these terrible clickbaity thumbnails and these terrible titles of like, we joke about it all the time. Oh, SpaceX is finally done at nuclear Starship or whatever, right?
Game over.
Yeah.
Something
Game over.
happened in space.
Exactly, and it's not real information. But it's not only is it not real information. Sometimes they will, back to the
actively disinformation.
It's active or it's playing to your desire to be on a winning team, right? And so they're playing to your emotion to be like, oh, Starship good, Orange Rocket bad, or Orange Rocket good, Starship bad, or whatever the case may be. And they do this in the name of viewership and the name of clicks. And this, I think, these things then spill over into Twitter. That's my theory. I'm curious to know your thoughts as well. And I'm wondering if there's what we as other members in the community, A, can do about it, or B, if this is maybe not a thing. Like, am I the only one that's like, I think this is getting really toxic everywhere? Like, this feels weird. Why? Like, I will give SLS a hard time for things that I don't believe in it, but I will, as much as I'm allowed, give Starship a hard time for things that I don't believe in it. But conversely, I will promote and be like, yeah, Starship's doing really cool things. Also, this is a test regime, so like expect some delays. Yeah. Same thing with Starship. I'm going to do the same between SLS. I'm going to try to be as fair as I can. Understanding, obviously, I have bias. We all do. You know, I have not unconscious. I have conscious bias with regards to Starship, right? Like, I obviously have a bias there, but I am still excited for Space Launch System. Like, I don't agree on its price, and I think it's weird that we're using. I'm sad that its Space Shuttle main engine's like the most amazing engine ever that we're dumping into the ocean. But I'm happy that we're going to be doing something epic to get into space. That should be the attitude of the community, should it not? Right? Am I crazy?
I think I would agree with you.
Okay, so then what do we do? Does everyone agree that this is an issue, A, and am I over dramatizing this? Is this not actually a thing? Is this only a handful of people and I'm not understanding that? Or is this actually something that's getting worse and worse? Because it feels to me, without any evidence, that this is getting worse and worse.
So I don't have evidence to back this up. I haven't done any research about it, but what I've seen from the space community, and you go back to the last shuttle flights, and there was a bunch of people that were turned on to space.
Yeah.
Because of the excitement of the people that were already in it. And the content was wholesome. It was factually accurate as much as you could get, and it was good, solid content, and it wasn't the us versus them. I think there's maybe, in my mind, I can think of maybe two things that have pushed us to where we are. Number one, YouTube's monetization of content drives people to do what works for creating income from content.
Okay, let me pause you. So I get that, and I'll let you get back to. I'll let you finish. All right. But my question to that is, okay, agreed on YouTube. How do we explain Twitter? Because this is happening on Twitter too, isn't it? And you're not getting the same monetization on Twitter.
Well, the same people that consume YouTube also partake in Twitter. Maybe not one for one, but there's definitely some spillover.
But I am motivated as a YouTube creator to create that viewership and get those clicks so that I can get your money. Right now, that's not how TMRO works. Just so you know. But like
you have a and then you want to talk about it with all your friends. Hey, look at this video I saw.
So you're saying that they then push that over to Twitter, and that's what creates the
and the same people with the same opinions developed by the same by consumption of the same content. Like, if you have wholesome content, you're going to have wholesome opinions. You're going to have wholesome factual understanding of facts. You're going to have, you're going to be accurate when you're talking to your coworkers around the water cooler about what a pile of crap it is that Starship has such a huge budget and hasn't launched yet. Like, okay, but if you have toxic content, that's the information that you know. And that extends not just to the space industry. If you've been paying attention in the last several years, that's the kind of thing that you consume. That's the kind of thing that's in your mind that you then talk about and disseminate amongst your friends.
I would say it's been proven time and time again in studies in psychology that negative engagement is a longer lasting form of engagement than a building of a positive community around something.
It feels better to burn somebody than it does to lift them up.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. It is significantly more fun to tear down than it is to build up.
It's also easier.
It's easier, certainly. But does it feel better? Does it really feel better? Doesn't it actually kind of feel crappy?
Instant gratification.
Oh, I don't know. It doesn't. I feel.
Sick burn.
I would argue for most people it does.
Really? You don't
So-
think that there's a better reward, like physical and emotional and mental reward, lifting someone up and seeing them succeed and being like, I was a part of this success, as opposed to tearing someone down and being like, I took them
That's
down.
not driving the views on the internet, though. What's driving the views on the internet is this already built structure of a conversation that SLS is bad, blah, 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 blah. The more you build into that, the more views you get, the more money you get, which then boosts your self-esteem, which then you build onto that more and more and more and more, and then suddenly you have this whole misinformation mountain about everything, why all of this is bad and why this is all the best.
Jared's point is really good.
Okay, go ahead.
Building somebody up, building somebody else's success and improving their life is better gratification, but it's not instant.
No, it's an effort. It requires time. Humans don't work on time scales that require us to put in a significant amount of effort. Really good, really excellent example of this is tackling climate change. We are so bad at tackling climate change because climate change is something that is, was going to be 50 to 100 years down the line. Now we know, of course, that we've done such a bad job. It's actually sped up. But it's one of those things where, it's further down the line, so I don't have to worry about it. So I don't need the gratification of trying to do anything to try and work with that. And I was also going to say, I feel like for us who are in this room, at least those of us who are here, we have a different perspective on things. Dutta, you have a vested interest in space, right?
Yep.
Okay, Ryan, you have a vested interest in space.
Yes.
Jamie, you have a vested interest in space.
I would hope so.
Yeah, and I do too. And the thing is that all four of us want space to be something that everybody can be a part of, something that contributes to everybody's lives, uplifts everybody's lives, and makes the lives of every person on this planet better, and leaves nobody behind doing it. And that is not something that happens overnight, right? We've seen that this is taking a very long time.
Yep.
So for those of us who are vested into spaceflight, it doesn't make sense for why people would engage so negatively in certain things.
We just took 3 seconds to make fun of Jared for using a microphone improperly and then spent 10 minutes trying to show him how to do it right.
Yeah.
Yes, but we lifted him up.
We
You
did.
did.
We
And
lifted him up.
And isn't that
he's-
more satisfying
he's
than tearing him down?
mostly succeeding.
But-
We will get him there. He's not there
Goodness.
yet.
There was an effort. There was an effort that had to go into that, right?
God, there was so much effort.
Goodness.
So much effort, Jared.
So that effort
I'm
paid
lifting
off,
you up
I
and
think.
tearing you down at the same time. So I'm
think
getting
paid
it on
off.
both sides.
So, but yeah, that's
Perfect example.
That's what it is. The time scales.
Okay.
The longer a time scale for something, the more likely people are going to want to engage negatively or just simply not engage at all, which then a neutral engagement can either enable a negative engagement or it can enable a positive one. But if everybody's putting in a very large negative engagement simply because of I've seen, I would also say groupthink and other things like that goes into it too. 10,000 people have said this thing is bad, so clearly it has to be bad. Mm-hmm. So everyone has said, everybody on this platform has said X, Y, Z, and W are terrible, and it's all about T, S, and M. So I'm going with all of that.
I don't have time to do my own research and form my own opinions, but this thing is terrible because everybody said so.
Yes.
Okay. So what I hear you saying
which is effort. If you want to combat that, and you don't want to fall into that ravine, that canyon of ignorance, you have to put in effort to prevent that.
Okay, so I hear you saying effort.
Yes.
But I also hear you saying vested interest.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how to make people want to put in more effort for anything. Like, I look at myself and like, do I want to clean my room or do I want to not have to clean my room? I'm going to always choose option B, right? Mm-hmm. So then,
and that's why your room is a mess.
No, legit, my room is a mess. Absolutely. So then it really is. Like, I was sick with COVID, and it's still in its COVID state. It's terrible. It's embarrassingly bad. So I get that. Mm-hmm. So then we can attack it from the other side of like, okay, we have. You mentioned we have a vested interest. Mm-hmm. How do we make them have a vested interest too? Like, is there something we can do to bring them into the community in such a way where they have a vested interest in the success of all of the things, much like we do? Because aerospace isn't just engineers.
No.
It's every walk of life ever. Star. But like...
We need that. We don't necessarily have it. We need it, but we don't necessarily have it. We have some.
So then how do we get it? Okay.
If I knew that answer, our channel would be a lot more successful.
And is that why our channel's not successful? Because we refuse to partake in these negative, like we just don't do. I mean, we have our moments where we're just making fun of stuff or whatever. We're having fun, or we just have a hot take on something. Like that's humanity. But is that why we don't have this crazy high viewership of some of the other channels? Because we refuse to be like Orange Rocket bad, or Starship bad, because we're not partaking in A versus B.
Yeah, we're not here for the sensationalism of it. We're here to tell you about
or is it because we start a show and then spend 10 minutes adjusting a microphone?
it. Could be that too.
Okay.
That's definitely it.
That definitely didn't help.
Didn't help. I did not think it was going to take that long. I thought this was like, okay, we'll finish up this microphone and off we go. And then 10 minutes in, I look at the clock. I'm like, we've been doing this for 10 minutes and we've been on the air.
Definitely the microphone.
That was
Yeah.
All right.
I feel like too, there's something to be said about the quickness of engagement as well with something like that, right? Like if you have a series of fast engagements, that is what you're going to be expecting from a platform from here on out. Like when I jump on YouTube and I'm going to watch something, I know I'm going to be taking some time out of my day in order to watch something, especially if I'm watching something from like Tim or Scott Manley or any of the other.
You mean Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut.
Tim Dodd, the Everyday
His
Astronaut.
proper name is Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut.
Yeah, we get like a penny every time we say that. I don't know.
I wish.
A penny for Tim.
Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut.
Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut. There's something.
We get one new Tim Dodd Everyday Astronaut viewer every time. Every time we say Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, we get a new subscriber on tomorrow. So that's why Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut.
So when I'm on YouTube and I see that something is going to be lasting 10 minutes, I'm like, okay, I'm in on this. Like, okay, I want to learn about why this fighter jet was like super good, but nobody picked. I want to learn about why this Formula One driver such and such with that and everything. But when I'm on Twitter, I'm not there for I'm not jumping on Twitter for a 20-minute engagement. I'm just there to just rattle them off as fast as I can, and then deal with whatever happens after that. So kind of, I feel like the two platforms lend themselves to sort of a different form of engagement, and Twitter definitely is not designed for you to have thoughts on. It's very much, it's one of those.
I had thoughts on Twitter today. Places.
Yes, but I'm saying most people are going to engage on Twitter in a rapid manner. It's going to be in the moment. It's going to be in the heat of it. Things like that. It's not going to be something that's well thought out. Very rarely do I see something on Twitter that's well thought out.
Well, you should. Clearly, you don't follow me, Jared.
I was going to say, even my account, absolutely not well thought out in any sense of that there. But on YouTube, if somebody's going to be putting in 20 to 30 minutes of effort on a video, for something like that,
sure,
then hopefully that is something that is a experience where I can learn something from a very well thought out, very good methodology of coming in on it. I think there's, I guess, boy, I'm like taking over here. I think there's something to be said too about the way that the transfer of knowledge happens as well. So if it is a transfer of knowledge that's done in a manner where you're learning something and you are improving your understanding of something through that, then it works out pretty well. But if this is something that's being taught in a manner that's asking you to join in on a certain opinion with it or to lean a certain way with it, then it becomes very difficult. That could lean in a negative light. It could lean in a positive light. It could even lean towards neutral, because you can make things lean towards neutrality, and that ends up sort of being a wishy-washy area. Typically, you don't find that, but man, it's a very complex kind of thing, and we're trying to, I guess, break it down on our show, which is difficult to do. But it's one of these things where I don't really know if I don't know if spaceflight itself is going to be able to do it about itself because of that ivory tower problem.
So this is my thought process, and maybe this is very naive, in that it is very naive. We are the people who are going to send humanity to other planets and eventually to other star systems, right? I mean, not in our lifetime most likely, but like we are the ones that will be seeding humanity's life and consciousness into the universe. So we should be the best example of humanity on the planet, all of us. Now, that doesn't mean that we have to be perfect. That's impossible. But we in the spaceflight community should be the best, should be striving to be the best that we can be as a human, so that when we are ready to send humanity to Mars, to stay. When we're ready to send humanity to Luna, to stay. When we're ready to send humanity to the surface of Jupiter, to stay.
Surface.
Well, Jamie, here's a learning moment. There is no surface that you per se would be able to stand on. So,
as I'm trying to land on the surface of Jupiter, I keep getting this like really crushing headache. This really. I'm sorry. Anyhow, we should be. You can't. Oh, hang on.
So I
This is good too.
I wholeheartely agree with your sentiment. I don't think that that's factually where we are.
No, it's definitely not where we are. I agree with that. I guess I'm sad that that's not where we are.
Yeah,
because
me
I
too.
do know a lot of people in aerospace that are just phenomenal human beings. Like
Yes.
a majority of aerospace, 80% of aerospace, great humans. 75% of aerospace, great humans. 69.7.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Look at where you work.
Yeah, okay.
Does everybody that worked there have an active and unwavering and unquenchable thirst for space?
Everybody?
Or do some of them just have a job?
No, some of them just have a job, if I'm being honest. They don't generally last very long, but like some of them just have a job. But I would say that at that particular company, the culture is if you're not on board with the mission, you're probably not going to survive. That's my 2 cents. Like, I assume it's similar at yours.
That's the hope. They don't always get weeded out.
No, that's true. But I would argue that number of people is very, very low at my employer.
Typically.
It doesn't
But
not
they
exist.
exist,
It
yeah.
doesn't not exist, but I think it's very, very low. Yeah. Okay. I think I'm so sorry for harping on this for so long.
no, I think this is like a very important conversation to have, because I will say that it really does feel like things have been shifting, and I don't want to necessarily say not for the better, but it's definitely been making things a lot more difficult in order to have those kinds of conversations that at least on Tomorrow we like to have, which are conversations about spaceflight right now, spaceflight in the future, and what it's going to be doing to help us out, and what we can do to help out with that as well. So yeah, it's a not a fun subject to talk about, but it's one that should be talked about.
I think my gripe is I don't like just talking about things. I like taking action. I'll talk about them. And Dutta knows this about me. I'll debate things even on even on a stance that I don't agree with, but I will do this in order for me to best understand the subject so that I can take the appropriate action, towards A or B, right? And I have some new hires working on my team that are watching me do this. And like I was making this argument for, option B, option B, option B, option B. And they're like, okay, I guess we'll go option B. And I'm like, oh, no. You convinced me to do option A. I was just making sure that this was and they're like, wait, what? I'm like, oh, no, you were totally right. It broke their brain. Anyhow, point is, like, I want to have some idea of what action I can take for success after I'm done having the debate or the conversation, wherever the case may be. And I feel like I've left this conversation with nothing other than a conversation. Like, I don't know what action to take here.
I don't either.
I I don't know how to help. I don't even know what I can do to help start solving it. And I have a freaking show with it. I'm in space.
Here we are. What do we do? What do we do?
I'm going to I don't even want to cordially suggest that maybe you and we have been doing what we can at the moment until we can find a path that is more direct.
I guess. I just feel like it's not enough.
I agree.
I think Brad's tweet is pretty far. Brad's message is pretty funny. I love that YouTube. Yeah.
I have a question.
Go for it.
Who does it?
Who does what?
Who should be the ones that come in and
who is the shining example of the light you want to lead?
No, who should be? Not who is.
Who should be the shining example?
Who should be coming in and figuring this out?
Well, all of us.
Should the industry be doing it?
I don't think the industry can drive that.
Should those of us who are, I don't want to necessarily call TMRO adjacent to it, but TMRO is about aerospace and space flight and everything associated with it. Is it the people who make the content for people to consume with it there? Yeah, Tim Dodd.
Well, hang on.
That's another viewer right there.
I think Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, is an interesting answer because, he does have he has a huge following and he has a lot of sway in the industry. And I think he is actively trying to do it. I think he actively sees this issue and is taking action to try to be like, and someone earlier said, Tim Dodd simps for SLS. I'm not sure he simps for SLS. I think he's trying to compensate for his particular community for like noping out of SLS and being like, oh, Orange Rocket bad, Starship good. And he's like, no. Orange Rocket not bad, right? Orange Rocket's actually pretty cool. It's pretty awesome. Don't poo-poo this just because it's not Starship. And I think he has to personally, and I'm putting words in his mouth and I don't mean to, but my theory is he has to overcompensate with SLS in order to push past that, whatever that weird narrative is.
And that's a moving target that you constantly have to adjust for.
But to your question, who should be working on this? I think the people that are active, that have large followings inside of aerospace, right? So Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, is a really great one of them. But I think he's trying. NASA Spaceflight, another really great one of them. Felix is another one that I think has a pretty large following. There are a handful of these that I think are at least on YouTube that I can mention. And then anyone with a large Twitter following. I'm not going to mention certain names because I'll get myself in trouble, but like you can imagine. But if they're in aerospace, I think that they can use words. Words are powerful. Whether you want them to be or not, they're very, very powerful. And so I think they can use certain words to try to calm the community down and maybe get the community excited for all of aerospace. That's who I think. You? How about you?
Yeah.
I think it's kind of a combination of all three. I think this goes back to my overarching sort of theme that I've had in the past, 15 years of my life, which is that space flight and science as a whole have a PR problem. There's a very big disconnect between what's actually happening and the ability to translate that to make it understandable for folks. And I think that we're at a point now where those translations are starting to really come across and actually really starting to help people understand what's occurring. But I don't necessarily think that the people translating it, there's a lot of great people that are translating it. There's also a lot of people who are doing so with an extremely bad faith. There are people who are taking that and twisting it and making out whatever they want out of it in order to sort of put their own viewpoint into things with that. And that's very, very difficult to work with in a industry where a lot of the decisions are not based emotionally. I don't really know anybody who has decided that their rocket's going to use hydrolox just because they have a really great feeling about it. Like I woke up this morning, I had a dream last night.
Hydrolox it is.
So
No, you've convinced me.
Where's your evidence? I made it up. But
I don't want to drag this on for the entire show. That wasn't my intent. And I think this is actually, I personally think this is an interesting topic. So for those of you that are bored or look bored, like Ryan looks right now, he's just sitting there like, when are we going to move on?
too long didn't read. It's the algorithms.
Orange Rocket good.
If you have
Orange Rocket good. Orange Rocket good.
If you have thoughts, please leave them in the comment section. Either, slam them on Twitter or comment below. And if you have, one other thing that would help us a great deal, so that if you think other people should listen to this or work in aerospace and like be part of this conversation, if you like or thumbs up the video, that will get us seen. It helps the YouTube algorithm will get seen by more. And I do want to end on this, which I do think is a very good point and a very fine line and very, very difficult. And this is from James Atkinson in the chat room, which is, should any of us decide was wrong or right for people to watch? It's such a fine line between weeding out misinformation to censorship and controlling information. And you're absolutely correct. And this is where
it's a knife edge.
This is where it's
a tightrope, and there are people at both ends shaking it.
This is where like I think that censorship of information, right or wrong, is not necessarily a good idea.
I'm a big fan of if you're a POS, proving publicly, that you're a POS.
The problem, so it's a very complicated issue, right? Because to your point earlier, people just, you've got groupthink, and people just read headlines now, and they don't do any form of research to understand where this headline is coming from, and then they get manipulated into thinking something that may not be actually correct. And then now they're on Team A, when in reality, like, Team A is like way off the rocker. And that happens to everyone on both sides of the political spectrum. So don't think that just because you're a Democrat or a Republican or whatever that you're immune to this. It's happened to me. It's happened to everyone. I guarantee you. But I still think the moment we start censoring those things, it is a slippery, slippery slope to getting to Orwell's 1984, right? You got to be real careful there. Go ahead.
So then the thing to do is to make the good, the wholesome, the factually correct as appetizing as the opposite side of the spectrum.
Hard to do, but yeah, I agree. Maybe we should just figure,
And how do you?
Okay, I mean, that's another thing. If you've got ideas as to how to make factually information, I think Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, does a really great job of making accurate information really quite consumable and fun. But look at how long it takes him to produce one video, and how many people, and how agonizing that is. Not everyone can do that. Not everyone can be a YouTuber full time, right?
Yeah, that's a lot of effort.
Yeah. All right. So I hammered on that for way too long. Ryan, what are you excited about this week?
It's a good conversation to have, though.
Yeah.
So
I don't normally have I usually kind of just mediate these and just kind of like steer the conversation. I usually don't have a conversation topic because I want to hear
you hijack the bus.
I hijack the bus constantly, but I don't actually have a topic myself. So this time I not only hijacked the bus, I drove it wherever I wanted.
Yeah, so we went over 55 miles an hour, and that activated.
It activated
the bomb, and we had to stay at speed. So
Pop quiz, hot shot.
I'll say this is an interesting. Tim comes across as very sincere. I'll say I've known Tim for a very long time, and he doesn't just come across as very sincere. He is a very sincere, very good individual. He was a good human. You're asking who I would prop up into that kind of like category. I think Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, is one of them. Also, like most of the people at NASA spaceflight as well. I think they're very good, very sincere people. And I don't think I've really. I mean, on the crew, they've got a form of thousands of members. I don't know all the thousands of members, but I know most of the people that are producing their videos or working to get you that content. And I think every single one of them is just good humans. Those are the type of people, Dada, to your earlier question, that I think should be propping this stuff up. Okay, Ryan, what are you excited about this week?
I'm excited about that big old hunk of money sitting on 39B. Just to
we were just talking about not doing that. I'm done. I'm out.
Have you heard nothing?
Bye-bye.
He wasn't paying attention to the last 45 minutes, no doubt.
Ryan, you fool!
He was waiting the entire time just to say that.
Yep.
All right, the big hunk of money on the pad. Why are you excited about that? Again, the hunk of money on the pad again.
It's back on the pad. That's why I'm excited about it. It's back. So NASA have spent even more money rolling it back out to the pad just to put more nitrogen into it and fuel and whatever. Not nitrogen, hydrogen.
I mean, they couldn't put nitrogen in it if they want.
Yeah.
They use nitrogen and helium too.
Yeah.
It's inert.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, nothing wrong with
Filling it
that.
up with all kinds of gases, liquids, solid fuels, whatever takes your fancy.
Yeah.
And
Factual,
I'm
Ryan.
excited about
Factual.
that. It's late.
It is. So you're excited about the SLS's?
Yeah.
So forgive me, I've been a little heads down, as you may have noticed. I've been kind of like not available recently. Sorry.
Really? I can tell.
know. When is the next static fire? Or excuse me, not static fire. Wet dress. I know, right? When is the next wet dress scheduled for? Or do they not have a schedule yet?
June 19th.
Oh, that's right around the corner.
Yeah, so a week and 2 days from now.
Nice.
All right. So,
Sick.
what are we thinking? We thinking that we're going to get a successful wet dress WDR?
Well, okay, I hope they've sussed out most of the issues from last time with NASA and Air Liquide. So hopefully everything that could go wrong, preventing the full wet dress from happening, that's been weeded out, that's been sorted out, and it's been repaired. If they have to go for a round 3, that would be very disappointing, but this is the testing phase. This is, you want to find the problems now,
Oh, yeah.
not when you launch it. That's the whole point of a wet dress. So if it doesn't go ahead, disappointing, but understandable. They'll just have to roll it back and try again. But fingers crossed it does go ahead. I think it will go ahead. I want it to go ahead, so I'm going to believe it will go ahead.
The line Jared constantly uses is better to be on the ground and wishing you were in the air than in the air wishing you were on the ground.
I think that's a Dutta line.
Is that a Dutta line? Is that a Jared?
That sounds
you
more
know
like
what?
a Dutta line.
Hang on, that might
Mine is.
hang on, that might be a John Insprucker line. Actually, is that Dutta? Is that your line?
That's not my line.
Okay, so that's a.
I agree with it, but that's not my line.
I think that actually might be a John Insprucker line. So now you get a little bit of insight into Johnny I there.
My line
Daddy
is.
Insprucker.
My line's always been better delayed than detonated.
Okay, that's
So,
pretty good.
yeah.
I don't know. I like the Daddy Insprucker line of.
Daddy Insprucker
That's what they call him on Reddit. Daddy Insprucker.
does not sound good.
This is how we're appealing to the community
Oh
who
my
think the
God.
SpaceX are, like really high up. So
Jaden says, I think it's and you might probably right. I think there's a general aviation saying. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Suddenly. Oops.
You can always take off.
I'm sorry. I'm being told it's Papa Insprucker, and then I also like it's suddenly Insprucker.
I can't believe it's not Insprucker.
So wet dress, and then we wet dress, and then we roll back again, right? Because we have to
yes,
make the boomy boomies activated.
Turn it on and off again.
yes,
Right.
Only in an emergency though. We don't want that to happen. Like
We're not
so
actually-
if everything else goes wrong and we can't save this rocket boomies, they're activated.
Right. So we roll back. We turn on the autonomous flight terminal. I forgot. It is not autonomous. No, I did that again. No, hang on. It's Vulcan.
Manual
I'm screening,
man with the red button.
I'm screwing it up with Vulcan because Vulcan has AFTS, and so I keep thinking new rocket AFTS, and it's like it's SLS new rocket. So I'm like, oh, AFTS, but I it's not actually a new rocket. I know I shouldn't be saying that, but like. It was designed a while ago. It was designed before we had a AFTS, right? It just was. So it's
in
FTS.
the 90s.
Anyhow, so we have to be nice. I mean, you're not wrong though. So we roll it back. We activate flight termination system. Then that's it. Then we launch, right? We don't static or anything.
We roll it out of the VAB first. So.
Thanks, Jared.
You're welcome.
So we wet dress on June 19th. We roll back. We take a week to activate flight termination?
I don't actually know how long this is going to take.
But
it's like 5 minutes.
Is there? Okay.
You just turn a knob.
All y'all. If you just
you just press enter and then it just goes.
If you just turn the knob or just hit enter, there's no reason to roll this thing back.
I know
there's no way.
Dutta will like this one. You just pull a little handle.
You just wing it down.
Why don't you just? All right. Excuse me. Okay, that's an inside something that I don't have.
Sorry,
I don't have
sorry,
access to. Yeah,
sorry.
you know the rules on inside jokes, not allowed.
Sorry.
Okay, so there is a very real possibility that we could actually launch Space Launch System this month,
That'd be cool.
right?
So long as they got the range.
As long as they have the range. Yeah.
August is the date they're going for.
Okay, so we're.
So they June
Really that
19th.
long?
If it goes ahead on June 19th, that will take a few days to go through the entire countdown sequence.
Yep.
Then they'll obviously want it to sit there for a few days. Then they'll roll it back. That's a day and a bit. Then they'll want to do whatever they need. They may still need to upgrade the vehicle, fix things that go wrong. So then they'll upgrade them, and then they'll roll back out, and then it'll have to sit there for a little while, and then they'll have to prep it for launch, and then they'll have to launch it. So August is the date that they're currently optimistically targeting.
And Robert in the chat room, whom I'm still jealous of his hair, says they have to take a ton of sensors off after wet dress, which makes sense, right? This is an engineering test article, so it's probably got sensors on everything that they need to.
Sensors on sensors.
Sensors on sensors, sensing the sensors. Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm a little bit surprised that it goes from June 19th to August. Like, that's a pretty long delay in between the two, but I guess that makes sense.
You gotta make
Compared
sure
to the
it works.
entire SLS program, which has been taking ages and costed loads of taxpayer dollars, then it's not really that long.
Let's be
Well-
clear. Hold up. You're saying taxpayer
Hey.
dollars as if you had any part of that. Come on.
ESA makes the service module, so
yeah, and do you pay taxes
Shut up.
personally just yet?
on everything I buy, 20%.
Oh my God, 20% over there? That's awful. Okay.
Thanks.
It is. Wow. Okay. So awesome. I'm excited for rollout.
Yeah, I know
too.
6 weeks sounds like a long time, between your test and then actually flying the dang thing. But
Actually, it doesn't sound like a long time when you say 6 weeks.
Yeah,
I don't
well,
know why, but saying June to August sounds like a long time. But when you say, oh, it's just 6 weeks later, I'm like, oh, that's no time at all.
I mean, honestly, when is does anybody know when the window technically opens in August?
right
when
after
is
he
it?
flies back.
I wrote I wrote about it in news. I know I wrote about it in news. I'm going to look for it.
Okay. Yeah, it's not really all that. 6 weeks doesn't sound all that long. So it's
No,
6
it
weeks.
really doesn't.
Or possibly 5 weeks for all I know. So, because we're talking the end of June to maybe the beginning of August.
Jared, what were you excited about this last week?
I wasn't so much excited as I was like mildly terrified by something that happened this week. So, but I think it's like a really important. It's an interesting story because we're once again.
Did it involve a microphone?
It did not involve a microphone.
Just checking.
So no, and I don't think it took 10 minutes to figure it out either. But
Micrometeoroid.
yeah, I was about to say.
I was like, what is this? What is this? And then I was like, oh, I know what this is. This is the micrometeoroid.
I think it's actually more expensive than this microphone as well, just as it is. So it's
a little bit.
we were talking about that.
It's a few of these. It's a few of these microphones lined up together.
Some of them, but or maybe the factory. I don't know. Yeah. So the James Webb Space Telescope, sometime between May 23rd and 25th, took a micrometeoroid hit that was somewhere on the order of about the size of a grain of dust, and it hit the optics, or hit the mirror part of the optics there, and it was detected, not just in a system that would have that, but
If
also,
it hit the optics, I would hope so.
But also-
I'd hope the optics are like, oh, hey, I see something.
yeah, hey,
Right?
It smashes you in the face.
You're like, oh, I've detected that. Yeah, exactly. I've detected a punch.
But I think what was so interesting about that story, which nobody had mentioned before this, was that there's been 4 micrometeoroid hits on James Webb since it's launched. This was number 5. So, and just like, that's a lot. And also, another interesting one from this too, was that this dust-sized micrometeoroid that hit the James Webb Space Telescope did not hit anything but the mirror. that specific mirror that it hit. So that tells us that it was a glancing blow, almost like an edge-on strike against the James Webb Space Telescope. Yep, exactly. Ping. I don't think it made a noise, though. And I also don't think there was anything ricochet at that point.
That's the age-old question. If a micrometeoroid hits your telescope in space,
and nobody's there to
and
see
no one's
it,
here to see it, does
actually
it make a noise?
I don't know.
I imagine if they had microphones on board, they'd be able to tell.
I mean,
Yeah,
you all have heard
guess what? Guess what they don't have, Dada? Microphones,
cameras,
and cameras.
What about some live GoPros? Just like you'll be able to see everything there. That'd be.
So you don't actually need
yeah.
hang on. You don't actually need a microphone to record an audio waveform.
No, you don't.
No.
No, you really don't. So, like, I was actually thinking, do they have
G sensors.
exactly on board? It would have to be at a high enough rate.
High enough sensitivity.
I'm sorry. When I say rate, I mean like hertz.
Yeah.
Coming back.
Refresh.
Refresh.
But I mean sensitivity for specific frequencies.
I wonder. Actually, yeah. I wonder who.
Yeah.
Who.
Was it transducers or something like that on it? So, maybe. So,
Anyhow, I derailed your.
that's okay.
input.
It's fine. I'm used to it. So
Why don't you just write up an email to JPL and let them know of your incredible idea, and then well, it's not JPL, is it? What is it? It's APL.
Goddard.
Oh, I actually don't know.
Yeah.
So at JPL, I know a couple people, and I could do that. I know one person at APL, but I don't know anyone at Goddard.
I'm just imagining you like writing a letter.
I've
out
done
to
that before.
Dear JPL, I have a great idea.
Hang on, I have actually written letters in that format, like internally to Company X, and then externally to some of my partners at NASA. But like in
Just
that,
fly
in
the
that
Mars
kind of
helicopter.
in that kind of pithy tone, like, dearest partner NASA, comma, why art thou 720p?
To my most beloved Kennedy.
With great regards, Jami. Absolutely.
Jammy.
Oh no, I am doomed to a life of jammy.
Jammy.
At Starbucks.
Jammy.
Jammy. Oh yeah.
Jammy.
Doomed to a life of written in crayon. Seki, written in crayon. I've absolutely done this before. And now that I've said that, I'm totally going to do that to the Vader team somehow.
Write a
This
note
next week.
Write a letter in crayon.
In crayon. Well, I'll do both. I'll do written in crayon, as mentioned in this chat,
With coffee stains on it.
Oh, they actually my newest hire, saw how much cold brew that I bring into the office. That as a thank you for, I brought him to an event thing as a thank you that he gave Carrie and I. It was a Starbucks gift card that said for your cold brews, and I was like, oh wow, you've only been here like 2 months and you realize this already. Also, it's gone now.
It only took you 30 seconds to put it on your Starbucks
Time you
card.
should give me more.
Yeah, he's like, you know me so well. My young apprentice.
Excellent, my young friend.
All right.
Okay.
On that note.
Yeah. So yeah, James Webb, it did what it's going through something that we expected it to go through, maybe a little bit more than we expected it to go through. But one of the nice things is that because of the ability to move each individual mirror and flex it and kind of put it in whatever direction it needs to be, no big deal. So we're going to be good. It's not going to affect the ability of the telescope to perform at the level it needs to. So.
All right. And
That's
cool.
good.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's been hit 5 times now.
5 total. 4 80 bitties, 1 big one. But I think it's really neat because it just kind of shows the robustness so far of the design. That's why I said so far. I quantified it. Smash cut to 5 years from now after the Webb flies right through a hailstorm.
And we have to send a servicing mission up to. Oh wait.
Just unretire the space shuttle.
Yeah, that'll do it.
There was a movie, Moonfell, right?
Yeah, they just fired up Endeavour in like half an hour.
They unretired the space shuttles, and I was like,
Well, California Science Center is going to put one vertical, so it's ready for launch, right?
Yeah, so we could grab the second mobile launch pad thing and wheel it out to Vandy at Slick Six, because after August, Slick Six ain't going to be doing nothing, so it's going to be vacant.
How long would that trip take?
I don't know. How fast can the crawler move? Like a mile an hour?
2.5. 2.5.
2.5? Oh, okay. So it'll be shorter than the time it took to get Endeavor from LAX to the center.
All right.
I'm going to work that on Google Maps right now because I can.
Oh my God. 2 housekeeping notes before we go out. The first one is I had a question on the chat room because I had mentioned Carrie Ann. Tony asks, speaking of Carrie Ann, will she be ever returning to the show? That's really ultimately her choice. This was, as she mentioned it many times, pretty much off camera, so I don't know that you would ever hear her say this, but she always said that this show is my passion project, not hers. She did it because she loved me and wanted to support me, but I feel like we've got a pretty decent team now, and so she's like, cool, peace out. That's her decision, and I feel like if this isn't something she's passionate about and wants to do, why would I force her to do it? I don't think that's fair. That's not fair to her, and that's not fair to the community, right? So I don't think that she's going to want to come back on the show. I think she's done. But again, it's her decision, not mine. Yeah. And then the other one, let's see here. I lost it. Here it is. The other question is Space Mike still? I feel like I have to answer this like once a month or so. No. Space Mike is not part of the show. We had to part ways a while ago. Space Mike, I don't think is really inside of the aerospace community anymore. We do wish him the best of luck. No bad words to say about Space Mike. No. But no, he will not be coming back to tomorrow. And then someone in the chat, here we go. So Robert's saying, I'm guessing she can if she wants to, though. Yeah, I'm not telling her no, but she doesn't really want to. And then Bruce says, but let her know that she is missed. I'm not going to do that. I'm just kidding. Serious CL? Scryus? Cyrus Cole Icicle asks, are you going to do interviews again? I mean, we should interview Ryan. Hey Ryan. Yeah, so I think
hi.
Interviews are tricky. So one thing that I always wanted on this show is for the live shows, they need to be live for a reason, right? So we need to have real-time interaction with you. It needs to be a fun, dynamic conversation. Otherwise, why are we live? We should just record it and then post it and get rid of the bad bits and keep it interesting, right? And so I felt like when we were doing our interview shows, we got so tied up in the interview that we never really took viewer questions. So what was the point of doing it live? It's crazy hard to schedule. You end up with all of the little bits that you should be removing, the little ums and ohs and breaks that we could remove or answers to questions that don't make sense. Those I think kind of belong more on demand, I think, unless I can and I would argue, I think, juggling lessons, this is a great point. Juggling lessons says, let us ask the questions. I agree with that. I do agree with that. But we need to find a way to make that work in our own brains. And there were several steps that we did in the live show to fix it in a way that I think makes sense. And some people prefer the old format. I get that. You can't make everyone happy, but I think overwhelmingly this is, well, I'm not gonna say overwhelmingly. I personally prefer this format, the talkative, community driven, having fun, 10 minutes of Jared fixing a microphone format. Right? There's no intro video. There are no advanced graphics. We're not doing anything like that. All we're doing is we're a bunch of space nerds geeking out and enjoying space together. That's what I've always, for years, Dada has heard me say this for over half a decade now, right? So
almost a decade.
Almost a decade. So that's what I would want with interviews, right? And Jay, I love this format. Yeah, and I love it too. I think other people love it. I think there's a way to do that to do this with interviews as well, but I need more time to figure it out. And I took a hot minute. And Daniel McCool, I just like watching with my fellow nerds. It feels like home here. Thank you very much. I mean, that's kind of the goal, right? So this should be a fun place where you get to hang out with fellow nerds and get excited about what we're doing in space. Joke around, have some fun, have a laugh or two with us.
Or at us.
Usually at us. Yeah. But that's the best part. We can laugh at ourselves, and we often do. And I think we laugh at you, we laugh at ourselves. We can all take a joke, right? So
yeah.
I'm rambled on for so long.
I think one of the things that would make the make the interviews more interesting is to be able to sit down with somebody on their schedule and do like a good solid hour or more if they're up for it interview, and then be able to clip that out and make something cohesive and you know, pull out the bits that you don't need and leave in the best stuff. And I think that would do better than just a time limit on a live show on a Saturday.
Right. I agree with that. The problem with all of that is the amount of effort required.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
that's a great deal of work. And I think this is where we give props to Lisa, because just coordinating the guests alone was a fantastical amount of work. And once she stopped doing that, we really lost our ability to do live interviews on the show because we don't have someone to coordinate guests. So I think step one is to find someone willing to donate time to help us coordinate and wrangle guests. And that is a long time. And I don't know that this needs to be like, why can't you do a daily live show? Cool. Right.
Because we don't have a crew of 100 working for us.
Exactly.
Also, you know what? Some of us work for others.
Here's how I'm going to answer that. Yeah, exactly. We all. So there are people like Tim Dow, the Everyday Astronaut, who took a big risk, and big risk, big reward. I think he earned all of it, and he took a big risk by doing YouTube full time, and he was like, I'm gonna lean into this thing, and I'm gonna figure it out. None of us here do YouTube full time. Every single one of us has a job. Most of us in aerospace. So
most of our full-time jobs are more than full-time.
Exactly. So we have jobs that are more than full-time or more than one job, and then we come and do this as a passion project on the side. So I personally don't have the time necessary to bring in interviews. However, if you do, and if you always wanted to support the show, and that's something that you're excited about, people are like, Ryan has a job. Well, Ryan goes to school, which is arguably just as hard, if not harder. That is a job in and of itself.
Takes up the same time.
It does, yeah, absolutely. So like let's not. And he's doing space news, so yeah, I mean, he has no time. There's no way. So if you would like to see this, and time is something that you have as an option to donate to the show, Jamie, Jami, Jami, at TMRO.tv or Photon Empress on Twitter. Let me know, and we'll give you some kind of parameters, and then just start reaching out to people and seeing what we can schedule for Friday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time. And I don't think an hour-long interview is like what's going to make sense here, but I think it might be fun to bring on a guest for 10-15 minutes, talk with them for however long the content dictates, right?
Yeah.
And then when we're done, we can all get together after that and be like, oh my god, can you believe it? And just have like a Mystery Science Theater 3000 afterwards of the interview that we just did and other space news that was happening. Or depending upon the guest, like if we bring on a William Pomerantz, maybe he'd want to stick around and we just dork out over news.
Yeah.
I think that would be kind of a fun, yeah, exactly, Aravale. So it's like a late night talk show, but space. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Yep.
So
it's just nobody will have a movie or a book to sell.
Exactly. Or maybe they will. Who knows? We had lots of authors on here. So anyhow, I need someone to coordinate that. I need a singular person to say, I'm going to spend the time to make that go consistently, once or twice a month, right? I'm going to work on this. I'm going to dedicate my time to this, and I'm going to make sure that this is great. Till we find that person, I don't see live interviews coming back, to be blunt. Right? We don't have the resources to do that. But it takes more than just time and resources like that to make a show go. It also takes cash money, yo. And on that note, I'd like to thank all of the subscribers of tomorrow. Dollar bills, y'all.
Wu-Tang.
These are the people who subscribe to us on YouTube in the Escape Velocity section. That is the highest level, and you get your name on the screen in the biggest typeface and the longest amount of time. You also get access to our Escape Velocity Discord channel, which is where you can see all of the chaos unfolding, including the technology back-end moves that I'm springing on people last minute, which happened last night, and weird things like that. I don't know. I think it's fun and interesting. And then we've also got Orbital. We have Suborbital as well. And then at our entry level, we've got 2 entry level tiers. The next one down from Suborbital is Ground Support. And Ground Support's about $5 per month, which buys me 1 drink from Starbucks.
One cold brew.
One cold brew. It buys me one venti cold brew from Starbucks.
God.
One per day. So that's ground support. And then we also have in at the lowest reward tier, you don't actually get your name into the credits, but that is system support, and so that's as little as $1 per month.
We
So
still love you. You're amazing.
we love you. We think you're awesome. And at $1 per month, you get you get access to the member stream, which we're about to go into, which is another 25 minutes of Jared trying to figure out how to use a microphone.
How does this work?
Exactly. But no, I think it's
Not like that, Jared. Not like that.
I swear to God, if you break.
I haven't.
I do. I need a spray bottle. I need a spray bottle for Jared. Actually, so does Ryan. We could both spray him. That would be so much fun. We need like a digital trigger so it sprays out from like behind the screen.
So I was really thinking.
Oh my God. Thank you, everyone. Oh, I have to go into the non-member chat room. Oh my God. Oh wow! I actually got signed out of Google.
Hi, Lisa.
They heard about your plans.
Apparently.
Lisa's here.
Woof. This really broke me.
Wow, you are broken.
Yeah, so we had an awkward start to the show, and now we're just going to sit here awkwardly ending the show. Hang on, I got to... Like, it full on bumped me out of the entire system. Okay. God. Oh, Lisa's here. Oh, since Lisa's
Hi,
here...
Lisa.
Since Lisa's here, we might be able to, like, I think before we go, there is... Hey, team. Hi, Lisa. Lisa and I are actually working on a really cool project together. I don't know if you guys know this. It involves...
No?
Yeah, actually involves a couple companies. So we've got Company X and the laboratory, and we're going to be teaming up So it's actually really cool. First off, it involves humans in space, the laboratory, and Company X. Okay, we're off the air.